Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Tech Conversations. I'm your host Guillermo. It is September 2nd. Hope you're all having a great day today. As you can see, a green day for me so far, up almost $700 today, or about 0.6% so far. So we'll see what the rest of the day brings us. Now in today's video, I want to talk about a very cheap options trading strategy and how you can use this to set it up for low risk, high reward plays. And so before I get into this options trading strategy, all I ask is that you guys hit the like button down below and subscribe, guys. It really helps out the channel. Anytime before you ever enter any options trade, please make sure that you know how to close it. Make sure you know how to get out of an options trade before you get into it, because most of the time you are probably going to want to get out before it expires. Okay, now our goal here is to profit from slightly bearish movement in the underlying stock with limited risk. Of course, I never use strategies that have unlimited risk. I suggest you guys stay away from those as well. And of course, with high reward, low risk ratio. And so again, the key here is you want to be slightly bearish on a stock. So the ideal situation, you're slightly bearish on a stock, you believe it will drop to a certain price, and then just kind of stay there for a couple of days, kind of just trade sideways from that level. And then of course you want to implement a play here with low risk, high reward. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use ticker symbol BP, so British Petroleum. And again, this is just an example I'm showing you here, guys, so that you guys get the idea of how to set this up. Please don't actually take this as an actual like alert or trade or anything like that. This is just an example here. Now, of course, remember, anytime we're going into an options trading strategy that involves selling options, because we are going to have to sell some options here, we need to check a couple of things. So number one, we are going to be opening and closing multiple contracts. So we do want to check the commission fee for whatever broker you're using. Robinhood doesn't have any commission fees, so we don't have to worry about that. But there are some brokers that charge some pretty big fees for opening and closing a contract. So make sure you always take a look at that, how much it's going to cost, and make sure it's not eating away too much at your profits, your potential profits. The other big thing, of course, we need to check anytime we're selling options is the ex-dividend date. Because remember, anytime you sell options, there is risk of assignment. Early assignment is generally related to the ex-dividend date. So you always need to check, does this stock have a dividend? If it does, we need to check the ex-dividend date. We don't want to sell options that expire on the week of the ex-dividend date. If we do, we want to make sure we close out 2 days prior to it, okay? So again, what I like to use is NASDAQ.com. So we go to NASDAQ here, and then up here, we just type in the ticker symbol. So again, we're using BP, and then we can click on it right here. And then on the left, you can go to dividend history. And this will show you all the things you need to know about the dividend for this stock. And so it tells us up here, right, the last ex-dividend date was August 12th. And of course, we're on September 2nd. So it just passed, it looks like, and the next one won't be until it looks like around November 5th, 7th, somewhere around there. So we don't have to worry about that as long as we're using like, the next week or so as our expiration date. So again, always check that. But now that we've checked that, now we can actually dive into the options here for this stock. So here we go into the options. So again, the very first thing you need to do is choose an expiration date. Now, September 3rd is coming up very quickly. That's not going to give me enough time for the stock to move in the direction I want it to move. So I'm going to go ahead and choose September 10th, right? Just so that, we would have more time for the stock to do what we want it to do. Now, this is going to involve puts. So I'm going to switch over to puts here. Okay, so I've chosen my expiration date. I've chosen puts because this is going to involve puts. And the first thing that you want to do here is you want to determine what price you believe this stock will drop to and be at on the expiration date. Okay, now this is obviously the hardest part of this entire thing, is trying to figure out what price this stock will drop to. And so again, let's just pretend that I've done some due diligence, some technical analysis, and a couple of things like that. And I believe that BP will go down to 23.50. And that's what the price that it will be at, or close to that, on September 10th. So what I would do is I would start by selling two put options at that price. So I would go to the 23.50 strike, or as close, the strike that's closest to what price you think it'll drop to, and sell two put options. So remember, when you sell an option, you receive a premium. We're going to receive a premium here of 7 cents per share. Remember, each contract controls 100 shares. So I'm going to receive $7 for each contract I'm selling. And again, we're going to sell 2, and I'll show you guys how to switch or change the number of each contracts that you want. But now that we've done that, what we want to do is we want to switch over to buy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the put I sold, and I'm going to go one right under. So I'm just going to go to the next one right underneath it, this $23 strike, and I'm going to buy this put option. So now that I'm buying this, I have to pay 5 cents per share, or $5 for this contract. Now the last step, you go back to the puts that you sold. What you want to do is you want to go up one strike, right, which would be the $24 strike. You want to skip this, go up to the next one, $24.50, and buy this one, okay? So we're going to buy this put, pay 18 cents per share, or $18 for this contract. And so ultimately at the end, if we take a look here, the put that we sold, that we bought down here, right, with the lower strike, this is 0.5 away from the puts we're selling. This one up here that we're buying should be twice as far away. So since this is 0.5 away, this should be 1 away, which it is, right? And that's how we know we did it correctly. Now, finally, like I mentioned, we do want to sell 2 of these puts, not just 1. So we go up there and we go here to the puts we're selling, and we're going to switch this to be 2. So ultimately, this is what it should look like at the end, right? So this is going to be a debit. This is going to cost us $11. We're going to pay $11 here, okay? And you can kind of start to see what this will look like. But if we take a look down here, right, our max profit, almost $90. And we're risking about $11, $10 or so. So basically risking $10 to potentially make $90, right? Which is a really nice risk to reward ratio. So we've created a strategy here with a bearish to neutral direction with very little risk and high reward. Now I do want to mention this may sometimes, instead of being a debit, end up being a credit. So make sure that you understand that. The other thing, of course, is that this is called the long skip strike butterfly with puts. Okay, and again, you can kind of tell that this is done correctly because it should look kind of like, you know, a triangle here, and then of course sometimes it might just be a triangle. Sometimes, like you see here, even if it goes all the way down, we'll still end up making money no matter how far it drops. So with that being said, let's go over to the option strat. Let's take a look here at what this looks like. So again, you should always use the option strat just to visually see what your trade looks like, what your profits or what your losses will be depending on, you know, what the price of the stock is, depending on what date it is. So we're gonna go to build here, and I'm just gonna go to short put. Okay, I'm gonna start with short put because again, we start by selling some puts. So again, I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna type in the ticker symbol, which is BP, British Petroleum, and then we chose our expiration, remember, as September 10. So we go to September 10 here. So again, we started by selling 2 puts at the price that we thought this stock will be at on the expiration, which again, we said was $23.50. So I'm gonna go to $23.50 here. I'm gonna add another option, sell another put. Again, same price, $23.50, right? And then we went ahead and we bought a put right underneath it at the $23 strike, like that. And then finally, we went ahead and we bought a put. We skipped over one strike, right? So we were at $23.50, we went 24. We skipped that, we went to $24.50 instead. And so this is what it's gonna look like here. So as you can see, this is gonna be debit $9, max loss $9. So that's the most we can lose. Max profit $91 here, okay? Which if we take a look here of max risk, you know, those are some pretty big returns that we can see here, right? And so again, what we want this stock to do is to be slightly bearish. It doesn't have to drop a lot. It just needs to drop a little bit, right? Right now, the stock is at around, you know, $24.99. You know, even if it drops to like, you know, $24.40, 24, we can make some pretty decent profits, right? But ideally, what we want to happen here is that we want the stock on the expiration date to be as close to the strike of the puts that we sold as possible, which was $23.50, right? So if I can get this to go to $23.50 here, right here, right, that would be a 1,010% return, right? And that's where we would make our max profit here of $91. So we want it to be as close to that price as possible on the expiration date. But the way we set this up, even if this were to go even further down, we'd still end up making money on the downside, right? $41 as you can see here. So again, this is called the long skip strike butterfly with puts. Very interesting strategy. You want to use this when you're slightly bearish on a stock. You think the stock will drop to a certain price and then just kind of stay there for a while, right? So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Also, remember to always, kind of check what, changes in implied volatility does. What happens if implied volatility starts to go up? What happens if implied volatility starts to drop? Right. So make sure you're always taking a look at that because, again, IV does affect, the pricing of options. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time.